Hey, Naomi.
Hi, Sarah.
Good to see you.
You too.
We have a lot of early arrivals, so thank you to everyone who has already logged in to join us for today's discussion. Um, a few things first. The chat function that you see on the right-hand side, whether you're on your mobile or desktop, does not work. I mean, it's just not enabled. So where you see the question section, that's where you guys can type any questions that you have, thoughts, opinions. Use that text box under the question section to submit anything that you want to share. So first things first, I'd love to know where everyone is like dialed in from. So if you guys will write in the questions section where you are listening from, it's just always kind of fun to know. I'm in Austin, Texas. Naomi, you want to share where you are?
Yeah, I'm in Orange County, California.
Is it still raining there?
Not at the moment.
Nice.
I think we're clear for a few days and it's
Nice.
gonna start again. I think next week. I don't know. But we
Perfect.
had a lot for a while there.
Yeah, I know my co-founder was getting like pummeled with rain too in Northern California. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you have a quick break. Okay, so reminder, let us know where you are listening in from in the questions section. Let us know where you are. And I'm gonna launch a poll. This just helps Naomi and I really understand who is in the audience. So when you guys have a minute, if you will just let us know if you are expecting your first baby, expecting second or third, so our veteran parents, a new parent, a caregiver, or other. We just love to know who's here and where you guys are. Okay, so far 100% of the audience family is expecting their first baby.
Awesome.
Very exciting. All right. We'll give everyone a few more minutes and then we'll just dive right in. Okay. Now it's almost split. 70% expecting their first and the other 30-ish% are other. So I don't know what the other is, but maybe they're just
Okay.
friends of ours here to support us. Or an aunt or an uncle or I don't know. So welcome.
I get contacted by a fair bit of grandparents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, oh,
Okay.
my daughter, my son, or whoever wants to do their nursery, and they're the ones who kind of find me first, which is kind of cute.
How interesting.
Yeah.
So they find you first and then like, are there ever instances where like will they pay for your services like as a gift for them?
Yeah, that happens sometimes, or most of the time they end up paying for like the crib or some
Got
of
it.
the larger furniture. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we're 3 minutes after, so I'm gonna close the poll, but right now it's split. Half expecting their first and the half is other. So I'm gonna close the poll and let's get started. All right, well,
Yeah.
again, thank you everyone for being here. I think most of you know, but if you don't, I'm Sarah, the founder of Poppylist. It's a simplified baby registry platform. I'm a mom of two. Amelia is going to be 5 in May and Zoe's going to be 2 in April. This is part of our solicited advice series that we launched last year. Solicited advice, I'm sure most of you can appreciate the name because when you're expecting or become a parent or I don't know, if you work in this industry, there's a lot of opinions and a lot of unsolicited advice. So that is where we came up with the name. And it's really a content series of information that I wish I had access to when I was pregnant with my first. I was the first of my sisters and friends to have a baby. So I have the privilege of tapping extremely smart people in this industry to share their wisdom with us. And one of those people is Naomi. And I always say this, and it'll never get old, but Forbes named her the queen of nursery design, and for very good reason, which you guys will all experience today. So Naomi, if you will just introduce yourself, you already told us where you're located, but more people have joined. So where you are, how you got started, and sort of like what you do, which I think most of us know, but if you'll just introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, so my name is Naomi and I own Little Crown Interiors. So we are basically a interior design studio for nurseries. So we specialize in all things nursery, and that includes kind of the big umbrella of, function and safety. And we get into some of the baby products as well because they cross over. So, mattresses and diaper pails and all of that. And we're here in Orange County, California. But I do a lot of virtual e-designs too. So we've got clients all over the country. And I got into it kind of on accident. It was not intentional. But when I finished design school 17 years ago, um, it was a big recession. It was 2007. And I ended up at this little company that did nurseries. And at that time, we had the what was it, Babies R Us catalog, and maybe I think Pottery Barn had a catalog for kids then, and that was kind of it. There was nothing, and it was tough. And now we almost have the opposite problem where there's just so much stuff. And
Yes.
so a lot of my clients now, when they first come to me, they're like, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to do. Do I need all of this stuff? Like, what do I do with all this information?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It doesn't slow down and it changes so
No.
fast. All right.
Yeah.
So when I was pregnant well, I'll just reference my first. There was a few things I did in the very beginning. One, I waited anxiously for like my 8 or 9 week appointment, which is crazy that you don't go see your doctor right when you find out you're pregnant. So you have that moment of like fear, anxiety, unknown, waiting for your appointment. During that time, I made very quick, immediate changes, like lifestyle changes. Like I swapped out plastic Tupperware for glass. I found a prenatal. I just started to take care of my body in just like a different way that I hadn't really considered before, trying to like make immediate changes. And then once I got past my first appointment and I knew it was going to be a viable pregnancy, you start to sort of enter this nesting phase. And one of the things people start to think about is their idea and space for their nursery. And it's so fun because it's so personal and it's different for every one of your kids. So for the people on the line, again, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the questions section and we will get them answered in real time. Naomi is here for you guys. So whatever questions you have, please don't hesitate to put them in there. So for the people on the line who are in this phase of life, thinking about the space in their nursery for their baby, when you are working with your clients, what are some of the very first kind of conversations around this topic do you find yourself having with them?
So as I mentioned, generally when people first come to me, especially for first time pregnancies or expecting parents, they are overwhelmed. They've been on Instagram, they've been on Pinterest, they're reading articles, and they're just bombarded with information. So usually my first step is to kind of calmly explain, most of the stuff you're seeing out there is not a necessity. It's fun, but when it comes to things you really just need in order to bring your baby home, it's a very short list. So we can design an incredible nursery, but most of that stuff is for you. It's not for the baby. So there's a lot of wiggle room, and especially now we're still dealing with sourcing delays and shipping issues in the industry. If something doesn't come on time, it's okay. I'll kind of explain. A lot of people don't know in the beginning that the baby typically doesn't go straight into the crib in the nursery. A lot of people opt for a bassinet or a co-sleeper or something like that for the first 3 or 4 months. And so I'll explain that, if your crib hasn't shown up or something's not finished in the nursery, you're probably not going to be using it anyway in that early time. So just having an easy, safe spot for the baby to sleep in those early few months is really the main thing to focus on.
Yeah, I think your comment on all the sort of like design aesthetics and a lot of the things in the nursery are for the parent, not necessarily for the baby. And I think that's a really important reminder. Okay, we have a question. I mean, do you want to answer these in real time?
Up to you.
Okay.
I'm down. Let's see.
So I'm just gonna pin this question because it's about safety and I think it's really important, but we can address it in just a little bit when we get down that sort of for the discussion. So what are is there like a list of basics for a nursery that you put? I mean, it's not as obvious if you're a brand new parent and you haven't had a baby yet. It really isn't.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
there were things I was missing when I brought home Amelia, and I was like, oh, it would have been nice to have X. So what are those list of basics
Mhm.
when you think about designing a nursery that are like sort of always on your list, no matter who you're designing for?
Yeah. So um, definitely the safe place to sleep. So whether that's a bassinet or if it's a full size crib or wherever, you're able to get that in. And the key word here is safe. So you
Hmm.
don't, you don't want to just put them anywhere. They need to be in a proper bassinet or crib that has the credentials that are required in this country. And it's very easy and tricky at the same time because you type crib into Google and there's 10 million options. So I always say make sure you're getting something that's sold in the United States. So it doesn't necessarily have to be made here because the safety certifications are done here. So don't buy anything that's kind of a strange looking website. I always say avoid Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for cribs specifically, because once they're disassembled and reassembled, the safety certification will change. Um, and something to keep in mind too, if you're borrowing a crib from a friend or family member, if you're going to reassemble it, it needs to be 100% reassembled. Every part needs to fit perfect, and you want to have that registration document that comes with the crib. That's important to keep. So um, those are kind of my main things as far as shopping goes. And I would say if you can avoid places like IKEA, just because their products are lower quality. And when we're talking about a safe sleep environment, that can matter. So just because they haven't been recalled doesn't mean you won't run into an issue. So safe place to sleep, as good quality as you can, um, and that's going to get you a really good foothold. So aside from the sleeping space, um, you're going to need a place to change the baby. So for most people, that's going to be a changing table. If you don't have a changing table, you can use a bed, you can use a dresser, you can use the floor.
Couch.
It's really, yeah, the couch. They have those little fold up travel mats that come inside
Mhm.
a lot of diaper bags. That's totally sufficient if you are in a pinch. So ideally a changing table in the nursery. So that's just any dresser. The changing tray is technically what makes it a changing table. You don't need that. That's just a decorative piece. So any surface is great for
And
changing.
then, can you explain what it is? It's like it has an edge, right, that goes on your dresser.
Yeah, it's a wood tray. It's rectangular and it sits on top of the dresser, and your changing pad will sit into it. So it's kind of just a holder for your changing pad. It looks nice. It kind of finishes the edge around your dresser. But it's a completely unnecessary piece because when you're done with it, you just have this large, awkward wood thing that you can't do anything with.
Right.
And there have been people who have issues with the baby kind of bonking their head on it when they're being changed, things like that. So if you don't want to spend the money on it, don't spend the money on it.
Okay, good. So we've got the
Mhm.
dresser, which or a place to change your baby. We've got
Changing, sleeping, changing, and the
okay.
third would be rocking, feeding.
Okay.
So again, in a nursery, ideally that would be a glider or a recliner of some kind, but a lot of people just end up doing that in their bed or on the sofa or wherever they can, wherever's comfortable for you. Um, and when new moms come home, often their bodies have been through a lot, and getting yourself into a comfortable spot is the most important thing. So wherever that happens to be, that's the best
Okay.
spot.
Yeah, these are all really amazing suggestions. So one of the questions that we have from a parent is, how do you help parents choose safe sleep environments?
How do we help parents choose safe sleep environments? Okay, so there's two categories, right? So there's the bassinet co-sleeper
Mhm.
situation that's going to be in your room, and then there is the nursery itself, which is generally a crib.
Mhm.
With that first one, you know, there's a ton of products out there. As long as you're buying from a reputable company, you're going to be fine because it's illegal to sell things that are just made up for the
True.
most part. Um, so there's a lot of options for functionality as well. So a lot of those bassinets are going to have fancy features, like you may have heard of the snoo, which has a technology in it that moves the baby around. It has a vibratory element to it. There's the halo, which kind of moves up and down and also angles. Um, there's very simple versions, which is just a little mesh bassinet on a stand. So it's more important to think about what you want functionally when you're shopping for a bassinet. And then as long as you're getting it from a good source, then it'll most likely be just fine as far as safety goes. The placement, though, is where people tend to not know as much. And this goes for the crib and the nursery as well. Anywhere that you put a baby to sleep needs to be away from a window, needs to be away from a direct stream of sunlight, like a beam of sunlight coming through a window. You don't want your baby near that. And potentially, you know, if there's a very heavy um, air vent or heating element somewhere, you know, you want to keep them in a space that's open and airy and ventilated, no beams of light and no shattering glass possibilities.
Yeah, and then you and I have talked about this before too. I think by not putting them near a window means you've alleviated them
Mm-hmm.
being anywhere near cords, like from
Mm-hmm.
curtains.
Drapery or shades, yeah.
You know, it's so funny. I just moved into our new house and I put Zoe's crib in her room, but there was an outlet that like perfectly was like right between two panels on her crib. So
Uh-huh.
I decided to move the cribs. I didn't have outlet covers. I'll move it back when I get the covers, but you know, again, as a first time parent, if your baby's not here yet, all of these things are going to matter as you're thinking about the safe sleep environment and where you place the crib, like Naomi
Mm-hmm.
shared.
Yeah, once your baby's old enough to start moving around and sticking fingers in things, it's a whole new level of safety. There's a whole list of things that you have to look out for at that point. Um, and in that very, very early stage, you won't, you know, they're not going to be able to stick their arm and grab an outlet in the wall, but they will soon. So it's something to think about early on, but you don't necessarily need to worry about it early on.
Right. How do you do you know off the top of your head like all the safety regulations or the approvals that people should look for? Because there are a lot of products like that will say that they are a safe sleep space, like a
Mhm.
generic Moses basket, but those aren't regulated even if they are made in the States. And legally, they can't say it's a sleep environment, but they're marketed as such.
Mhm.
So if someone is trying to decide between like a regulated legal bassinet or this cute little
Mhm.
aesthetic Moses basket, what are
Mhm.
some things that they need to like really think through before they make that decision?
So the main thing to look out for is kind of a category that I call soft sleepers, which is anything that's soft and squishy that a baby can get their face pressed into. So this came into play years ago with crib bumpers, right? I don't know if anyone remembers, but cribs used to have this big fabric bumper pad that went around it, and those are now outlawed in the US because they were causing safety issues for breathing. And a lot of bassinets and Moses baskets and things like that will have kind of a fabric liner like that on the inside, or some can even be made of a thick fabric material. But those are generally more of like a cradle, not like a proper co-sleeper bassinet type of thing. So, and this also comes into play with those little loungers that you'll see. They look like a little mat with a lip around it that are very soft and squishy. Those are maybe a sleep environment, like you said, might be marketed that way, but they're not a bassinet. So I don't recommend anything soft at that point, because if they get themselves in a position where their face is pressed into that fabric and they can't move their head yet, then there's a breathing issue there.
Yeah. Full transparency. We had a full-size crib for my first. We did not have a convertible crib or any bassinet, but our house was really small. We didn't have a lot of storage space. So I ended up staying in Zoe's or Amelia's room because the crib didn't fit. We just didn't have room for it other than her bedroom. But we had one of those Snuggle Me organic. So the soft sleeper, two really popular ones that Naomi just talked about is like DockATot and Snuggle Me organic. So we had the Snuggle Me organic, and during nap time, if we were awake, we would layer in the Snuggle Me like on the couch. So yes, it was like a cradle. I wish I didn't use it as much as a safe sleep device or a sleep device, because their websites will say do not use this as a sleep device, even though a ton of parents do. But yeah, it's convenient and it might feel really nice for your baby, but it is so not worth the risk. So we never let her sleep in it unless she was supervised. But even then, you're still not even supposed to do that. I'm guilty. I'm just sharing my own experience because there are a lot of tragedies around those safe sleepers. So I would, it's a very short moment in your life. It's going to feel like forever. But the convenience of those cradles and soft sleepers they are absolutely not worth it. So that is just my 2 cents.
Well, I think too, I mean, I know you said like you feel guilty, but nobody's told you that they're not safe. And right. You know, when you buy them, like you said, it'll say that they're a safe product, but it's important to read the entire manual on these things. I know most products you get, you don't read those manuals, but on baby safety products, you definitely want to, because they hide it in there, and that's where it'll say like, oh, this is a safe sleep product, but like don't ever leave them unattended, or don't let them roll over, or you know, there's all these kind of fine print things that they can get away with down there. So read those.
Yeah, thank you.
And they should, in theory, be on the websites as well.
Definitely, yeah, they are. Okay, so I'm gonna read you this entire question because I think it's like right up your alley. I have my own opinion. Okay. I'm gonna let you answer first, but it's about mini cribs and convertible cribs.
Okay.
I guarantee you've done this, address this with a client. What are your thoughts and recommendations for purchasing a convertible crib, bassinet to mini, full size, you know, all the jazz, versus just a full size crib? This person does not have a ton of extra storage space, so they're trying to decide if just going with a full size crib from the beginning makes more sense. They don't have to purchase additional mattresses, pads, sheets, etc. for each size of those stages. Plus, it's less pieces for them to store when they're not in use. On the flip side, having a smaller crib for their space seems amazing. So they're torn. How should they think about making this decision?
So that's a great point about the storage space, because one thing with these convertible cribs, especially the ones that go all the way from bassinet to full crib, like the Nestig and the Baby Leto Yuzu, they're going to come with a lot of extra parts because you don't need those parts yet, and you have to put those somewhere. So generally they're going to be in a flat storage box, but it's still, you know, could be the size of the front of a crib, which is pretty big. So it's going to save you space in the room, but you will have to put that box somewhere. These pieces are tricky because they can be an absolute lifesaver for some people, and other people don't have an issue. So I would say that there's a few things to consider. One is when you get to the point where you need to change the bassinet into the next size, whatever it's mini crib or full crib or whatever, that is not an easy endeavor. So, you know, you've got to go get the box out and go through this. It's like setting up the crib for the first time again. And you do run that risk of not putting something together correctly. You know, and that's just user error kind of a thing. But it is, you have to take time out of your life, disassemble, make a huge mess all over the floor, worry about if you're doing it right again.
And again, and maybe 8 times.
Right, however many times it converts. So I like them, but I would say if it were me, I would probably go with a regular crib and then a foldable portable bassinet. There's products like one of them off the top of my head is the Baby Leto origami, which is a kind of a mini crib bassinet that folds down really easily and you can just roll it right into a closet. So you have the option of the bassinet and the crib at the same time without taking up a lot of storage space. So that's the other downside with the convertibles is that you can only use one at a time. So you lose the flexibility of having multiple options.
I love it. So you're the expert. They didn't ask for my opinion, but my suggestion would be in your case, it sounds very like exactly what I was dealing with my first. We went with a full-size crib. And I borrowed a bassinet from someone I knew and trusted and was one of my extremely close friends that was just temporary in our bedroom. We did not have an ounce of storage space available. And Naomi, you usually recommend that people buy the convertible parts at the same time as their crib, right? Not later. So if this person's thinking, well, I'll just buy those parts later, can you just like remind the group why that's not a good idea?
Yeah, so when you're buying these, like the Nestig, these kind of 3-in-1 cribs, sometimes they'll come with all the parts at once. But if you're just buying a regular crib, sometimes you'll see separately, it'll say, oh, here's your conversion rail to turn it into a toddler bed, and that's a separate purchase. I usually suggest buying that at the same time because if that crib gets discontinued and then you come back 2 years later for your toddler rail and it's gone, then you don't have any option. So that's something you would also have to store, but it is a good idea to buy at the same time if you do have a place to put it.
Yeah, smart. Okay, thank you. We're gonna go back to the Snuggle Me and then we're gonna transition because I have, these webinars absolutely fly by. Like I just looked at the clock and it's already, I mean, it's just like insane. I want you to talk about designing a nursery. Like that is so much fun. And that's part of like our flow is like, how do people think about picking a design and all that stuff? But one of our friends, Lauren, let's go back to the Snuggle Me really quick. You don't recommend it, not worth it. If you asked me this in the midst of my postpartum and sleep deprivation, I would say, Lauren, it's worth every single penny because I would put my daughter in the Snuggle Me on the couch, 100% supervised, and she would sleep there. However, if I can't recommend it, yes, either way. To me, it helped. But if you know that you have a strong enough willpower that you will not take that Snuggle Me or any soft sleeper and put it in the safe sleep environment, their crib or bassinet to help them sleep better, then I would not get it. Once you experience like that level of convenience and like, oh my gosh, my baby is sleeping in this, it's not a safe sleep environment. So if you know in your heart of hearts that you can watch your baby completely supervised while they're in it on the couch somewhere near you and your partner or your family member, I think it's okay. Again, that's my own personal point of view. However, it can easily find its way from your couch to the crib. And I just would really caution you to think through that. If like you and your partner have a hard rule, hey, the baby is never in this unsupervised, it's only on the couch, it's only on the floor so I can take a shower, I think that that's okay. But as long as you're not using it for its only sleep mechanism, like the only place where your baby sleeps, then I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, cool. Oh, they said they're gonna go look at the Baby Leto Maki. Is that what you recommended? Or there's
I think it's the origami. That's the one that folds
okay.
down.
Oh yeah, well the
Yeah.
Maki, it's on wheels, so it could still fold up
Oh.
and
hmm
okay, great.
Yeah,
Well,
they have a few on wheels too.
with that decision. Okay, so let's move on. We've talked about sort of like the process. I feel like there's so many things we can still talk about, but we only have 15 minutes. So let's transition from, okay, everyone has their basics in the nursery. Before we transition into designing your nursery and how you guys are going to think about that from Naomi's expertise, if all of a sudden your Pregnancy has flown by and you do not have your nursery dialed in the way that you sort of envisioned, I just want to remind you that it is totally okay. In most cases, your baby will not be in there in the very beginning. And that is okay. If you have run out of time, just focus on the space where your baby will sleep when you bring her home from the hospital or wherever. So do they have a safe place to sleep? Yes. Do you have the monitor that's going to help you with your anxiety or whatever that case is? Yes. Do you have your sound machine? Yes. Great. You're good. You have a space where you can properly and safely put your baby to bed, and that's the most important thing. Now, the nursery. How does someone pick a theme? And what are some really fun parts of your job? Like, this has got to be the most fun for you when you just get to like have someone tell you their dream, aesthetic, vision, and it comes to life. So how does that process work, and what would someone need to think through?
Yeah, so as far as themes go, I generally, at least when I'm designing for clients, we don't do a lot of themes. So themes used to be really popular a long time ago, and because it was the catalog culture. So you'd open it and it'd be like, oh, this jungle theme nursery. Here's all the things you can buy for that theme, that kind of a thing. Nowadays, it seems much more that we're focused on designing the space for the parents, which I wholeheartedly agree with. Making the space feel good to you, because if you are feeling calm and serene in the nursery, your baby's going to pick up on that energy. So if you don't want a Disney Cars themed nursery, don't design one. The baby will not care, I promise. That said, if you are going to do a theme of any kind, even if it's just nature or something kind of soft and subtle, I recommend doing that in layers. And what I mean by that is small decor that you can bring into the room and easily remove and replace. So a piece of art or a pillow or a lamp, something that's not a huge investment that you can change out, because themes do get old over time. You're going to want to switch it out. And then when the baby does get old enough to start having an opinion, they will certainly want to change things. Exactly. And then when they do get to that point and they're like, I want frozen everything, then you can be like, great, here's your pillow, instead of redoing the entire room in frozen theme. It's just a couple little things, and that will satisfy them until the next thing.
That will start around age 4 for everybody on the line. I have 2 pieces of art of female astronauts in my oldest's room. And about 6 months ago, she said, I don't want those people in my room. She wants a pilot instead of an astronaut. And I don't even know how she knows that they're not obviously the same, but they're pretty similar, an astronaut and a pilot. They're both in space. Anyway, she wants pilots, not astronauts. So at least we could take it down and it wasn't like a whole wallpapered wall. It was just like a piece of art, hanging up. So it'll start sooner than you realize.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to work on when you're designing someone's nursery?
Oh, so I'm very technical. I got a degree in art, studio art, before I went into design. So I like the creative element of making the thing. And combining that with my kind of technical nature, I will get lost in the renderings very easily. So when I'm working with clients, we'll translate it into a rendering so they can see what it's going to look like. I will spend all day on that. I love it. It's my favorite thing. Putting it together and seeing oh, this is how it's going to look. And I really enjoy that. And then when we get to show those to the clients, that's when they first get that excitement of, this is what it could look like. This is how I could feel. That's definitely my favorite.
I love it. Okay, a few tips that I think are going to be really useful. A few things that I loved in both of my girls' rooms that I think are worth sharing. I had an extra long phone charger, so the rocker glider was near an outlet, and I had an extra long phone charger. I had a side table that was extremely helpful. So like what Naomi mentioned in the beginning, like where you might feed your baby. So like having a side table next to your chair is extremely helpful. An extra long phone charger. You can tell us the dimensions, you probably know off the top of your head, but I did not have like a long dresser. I had just like, I forget what the dimensions are, but my dresser was
32.
almost 32 inches. I had a 32-inch dresser, which is a pretty standard length for most changing tops.
Yeah, the changing pads are 32.
Yeah.
And then the dressers are usually like 36 or 40.
So I didn't really have any, once my changing pad was on the dresser, I didn't have any space on the dresser. In hindsight, I would have loved to have found on Facebook Marketplace or on sale a longer dresser, but instead I used the top drawer of the dresser for all of my diapering essentials. So that was something I did not think through at all, because then I lost a dresser drawer space, but it ended up working out fine because they were babies and they don't need a lot of clothes anyway. What's the length dresser that you really like putting in people's nurseries?
Honestly, the larger the better, because any extra space, surface space that you can get is going to be great. The standard dresser size, you know, if you're just potty barn kids, whatever, a standard dresser is going to be about 55 inches wide, and your changing pad's going to be about 32 inches wide. So that'll give you a little extra space.
Yeah.
If you can fit a dresser that big. If you can go bigger, awesome, do it. But most people don't have that much space. Nurseries are usually like the office or the guest room or the smallest room that you have. So if you end up with the smaller one, it's fine, you know.
It is totally fine. And I didn't think about that, because you're right. Like I needed a surface for, we didn't buy a wall mount right away for the monitor. So I needed a surface for the monitor. I needed a surface for the sound machine. I needed a surface for the diapering accessories. You know, there was just so many like things that I needed. The humidifier, there were just so many things I needed a surface for. So if you don't have the space for a long dresser, don't buy the clear acrylic shelves where you just lean a book, because the sound machine doesn't fit in there. Like nothing fits on that surface, it's too small. So maybe like deep wooden shelves would be like a great option. So again, I did not think, well, again, no one told me. So how would we know? That's the point of this whole session. Surface area, yes,
surfaces are great. Yeah. And you know, lots of little inexpensive side tables can be really helpful for that kind of a thing. And as the baby grows, a lot of those products are going to get removed. So especially when we're dealing with all those cords, either they're going to get removed because you don't need them anymore, or because they become a safety issue. So having the flexibility to move things around is great in a nursery.
Yes, or your 2-year-old rips them out and bends the metal and it's broken.
Exactly.
Lots of things can happen, lots of variables with cords. Okay, we have 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Are there any like tips, tricks, hacks, things that you always share, want to share? What are some things you want to leave everybody with?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I'll try to hit one real quick that I get asked a lot, which is how do I make sense of all of these inspiration photos that I have? This is something in that overwhelm stage that I get a lot. So a client will come and they'll say, I have saved 37 inspiration photos. None of them are the same. I don't know what my style is. And that's a very common problem. So what I generally suggest is 2 things. The first thing is look at them all at one time. So just flip through all of your inspiration photos and then put them away. And don't think about them and don't look at them for at least a couple of days. If you find yourself thinking about one of them, there's something in that photo that you are attracted to, right? It's similar with online shopping. If you look at 100 dresses, you close the thing, and then there's like, oh, that one that I can't keep thinking about, right? It can help you kind of understand which photos to focus on as far as your inspiration. The second thing is, once you have them narrowed down, trying to figure out what it is that you're attracted to. Because you could be looking at one that's traditional and pink and one that's modern and blue, and you don't know why you like them both. So what I try to tell people is go through the elements, design elements, and kind of cross them off your list. Is it color? Are you attracted to the color? No? Okay, next thing. Are you attracted to the style of the furniture? Maybe. Kind of go through this list of what it is and pinpoint it. If it's just like, I like that glider and that's it, and then you can ignore the rest of the photo, that's really helpful to know. Sometimes you'll get a situation where you just like, I don't know, I just like it.
And that's okay too.
And that's, yeah, and that's okay. And you can just try to pull things out from that image and try to replicate it by, Googling similar things. So inspiration is a tricky one, but you don't have to use anything. You can just go with your own creativity, or you can just go super minimalist and not worry about it at all.
I think both are great options. And there should be no comparison. This is like so individual and so specific for each person. Okay, my very last question. I'll answer and then you can answer. Favorite places to shop for the nursery. I spent a lot of time with my second on our friend Jennifer's website, Sway. She vets all the non-toxic stuff, has great recommendations, sheets, rugs, it's all there. So Sway Home. I love Zara Home for some of the nursery stuff. Turns out they have really cute diapering things too. And I found like really good random stuff at World Market, like side tables. So I had a lot of luck on those 3 sites, and I always enjoyed going there, or Home Goods in person. Where do you love to shop for nurseries?
Oh, so
Like,
many
if we're
places.
thinking decor,
Huh?
like if we're thinking decor.
Yeah, for decor. So I love Anthropologie for decor, and they do have a lot of stuff that's not super expensive, especially when it's just kids decor. I end up on Target quite a bit for their home decor. They have their Studio McGee line now. They have their Justina Blakeney line now. So they've got a lot of really nice, affordable decor there. Furniture wise, I'm a huge fan of affordable but quality. So, like I said, I don't go to IKEA for furniture, but the next level, right? So we're in that mid range is great. Baby Leto's great. Namesake, those 2 brands are the same company, and they're a really great mid level. Franklin and Ben. Bloom is good. Nestig is good. There's endless options. Pottery Barn Kids too, I actually really like. Yeah, their furniture quality is kind of hit or miss, but their decor is great.
Awesome. Okay, we are at time.
Okay.
I'm telling you, go by so fast. We will send a recording of our discussion in a couple hours to everyone that registered, everyone that was online. We will include resources for how you can get in touch with Naomi. We will tell you the places we just recommend where we both love to shop. And just kind of like a recap of our session will be in there. So please look for that email in a couple hours. And I feel like we should tell everyone that on Monday we launched the Natural Nursery giveaway.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So on Monday, we will just give you guys the first sort of like inside scoop. On Monday, we are launching, along with our other co-host, Jennifer Easton of Sway, the 3rd Natural Nursery giveaway. We have over $3,800 worth of curated products from brands that all 3 of us love. Some Naomi mentioned: Nestig, Pear, House of Noah, Bobby, and I don't know, I won't name all of them.
Like 6 more?
Yeah, there'll be 10 items in the giveaway. So please stay tuned to make sure you're following Populous, Little Crown Interiors, or Sway so that you know when it launches. We launch at noon Eastern time this Monday, so on the 26th. So stay tuned. The 26th, right?
Yep.
Okay, so stay tuned and please enter. And it's going to be amazing. So thank you all for your time. Like I said, we'll send a post webinar email. And Naomi, thank you so much for everything you shared. I hope everyone is inspired and feels more confident to make some decisions for their family and nursery. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you.